Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome guys to our webinar, SOLIDWORKS Electrical Schematics webinar. My name is Joseph Dager. I'm an applications engineer here at CIP in Amory, Mississippi. Let's go ahead and get started. In this webinar, we're going to take a look at how we can create faster schematics with fewer errors. Why is it faster to create those schematics? It's because of the intuitive and user-friendly user interface that SOLIDWORKS Electrical has to offer that allows us to create our schematics and check for errors later on. We're going to look at how easy it is to reuse that data that we use in our schematic versus having to go back and import that same component again over and over again. Copy and paste would do the job for us, and how we can manage the new content setup, whether it's a macro, whether it's a wire harness, any component that we can store and use later on as we progress in our design. After that, we're going to look at how we can manage changes. Sometimes you cannot avoid making changes in your designs, but with SOLIDWORKS Electrical, it's incredibly easy to manage those changes and propagate those to your reports, whether it's a bill of materials or wireless, so on and so forth. And at the very end, we're going to look at the final documentation, how professional and accurate those results are going to show. So let's go ahead and take a tour in SOLIDWORKS Electrical. First of all, let's take a look at those menus here. That, for example, the file menu shows the project manager, the environment archives or unarchived environment. That's something used for backups mainly, so you won't have to worry about losing any data. Everything will be saved at a location of your choice. Then in this menu, that's just for viewing purposes. In the project menu, as you guys can see, we have properties for the project, configurations, locations, and most of all, or most importantly, in this portion here, there's in the project menu is where we can generate the reports, and we can check for our designs, check for errors and fix them, and we're going to take a look at that in a minute or so. The process tab, that's where you can update your data, renumber new wires, renumber marks. As the more you add components to your schematics, you don't have to worry about having to go back and renumber all the new components that you did. SOLIDWORKS Electrical Schematic will do that process for you automatically without any problems. The 2D cabinet layout and the SOLIDWORKS assembly does the integration with the electrical 3D and the import and export, and that might sound interesting to most of you guys, especially those who work with software like AutoCAD to generate their electrical schematic. That's where this menu comes in handy to import DWG files, to import data, publish or export as DWG files, export to Excel, import to Excel. And in the library, that's where the symbols are stored, title blocks, the macros, libraries, and the ERP database connection. That's a real-time connection to live prices and availabilities for components that you're about to add in your project, in your schematic. So let me go ahead and start a random design here. By the way, let me go ahead and go to the projects manager. As you guys can see, it's incredibly easy to see the projects that I have available in my dialog box here. If I go to projects, to all the projects I have, for example, 2 projects open at the moment. They're shown in blue. These are the projects that I'm about to use for my presentation to you guys today. So from scratch, I'm going to go ahead and generate a simple schematic. I'm going to generate a simple schematic, starting with multiple wires. If I don't like this wire, I can always choose a wire from my menu here. And by the way, guys, every menu within SOLIDWORKS Electrical is customizable to whatever you're looking for. Like if you want to add certain wires, you can always configure that menu and add those wires, specify the colors that you want to use, you name it. So for this example, I'm going to use that 3-phase wire with the neutral. I'm going to select it. This is the space between the wires. Everything is in front of me over here. So I want the neutral wire and the 3 phases. Let me start by, sketching the first wire. I'm going to hit escape to get out of the command, and then Control R, and it's going to, in a smart way, those wires are going to snap onto each other, as you guys can see here. So I created these 2 sets of wires. Now it's time for me to start adding components. So let me go to my symbols manager here, and I didn't even have to type the entire word. Like if I'm looking for a motor, I type the first 3 letters. Okay, pulled up all the motors. I'm gonna use this motor here and locate it on the schematic. This dialog box opens up for the symbol properties, and right away I can go to manufacturer part and circuit, so I don't have to. That's how intuitive SOLIDWORKS Electrical is. You don't have to go back to the component and assign manufacturer properties. The moment you drop that component, it's going to take you there. It's going to allow me to search from the libraries, from the available libraries, for a list of manufacturer components, motors, specs, whatever you're looking for. And you have all those classifications there, manufacturer part, and what library you're looking at, what type of that motor is, the whole 9 yards. So I'm going to randomly select this motor, for example, and I'm going to say select and say OK. So now I have a set of 2 wires in the motor. Let me go ahead and add the disconnector. Let me select this one, for example, and locate it somewhere here. Add manufacturer part, search, just randomly select this one. Sure, why not? Click OK, and let me add circuit breaker. Sure, why not? Locate it somewhere here. And for the manufacturer part, let me just assign all of them and search. Just assign this component here. Alright, so at this point, say for example you want to repeat the same steps again. I don't have to do everything from scratch like the same steps that I did before. All I need to do is just capture this entire component, Control C, just like in Windows, and Control V. Drop a second instance down here. Again, drop a third instance down here. Very easy, very powerful, and all of those properties, guys, whatever manufacturer properties we assigned are going to be captured as well and carried along as well. You don't have to worry about numbering when it comes to the components, even though it was a copy and paste. SOLIDWORKS Electrical Schematic was smart enough to recognize that that was the second instance of this particular component. For example, like this is Q1, Q2, Q3. This is motor 1, motor 2, motor 3. So little details like that, guys, help you, save tons of time while progressing with your design. So something simple looking as such, in less than an hour, will end up looking like this schematic. So this is a full schematic that has all the components that I was trying to explain in that example. Whether it's motors, disconnectors, every single component in this schematic is functional. And what I mean by functional, guys, is on top of the fact that we went ahead and assigned manufacturer properties, each component has its own rating, whether it's power, voltage, amperage, you name it. And that's going to help us down the road to check for errors in our schematic. And we're going to see that in a minute, but before that, I'm going to show you guys how this particular schematic is connected to another schematic that has all the macros in it. Like for example, those cylinders here are macros that were stored in the macro palette here. You can always generate your own macros by just drag and select components and put them in your palette. That's going to be stored for later on uses. And these you might ask, well, how is this schematic is connected to this schematic, or how this schematic is acting as the brain for this schematic, because it's the control circuit having all the macros and stuff. Well, with SOLIDWORKS Electrical, it provides us with the ability to connect two schematics together using the origin destination arrows, where the moment you click on it, it's going to show you a preview for the two schematics, and single insertion, you're going to select a point from here, it's going to connect a point from there. Super easy to do so. This is my control circuit. Now, after you finish your design, it's time to check for errors. That's where this powerful tool in SOLIDWORKS Electrical Schematic comes in handy. This, from the project tab, I have this design rule check. If I click on it, these are the categories that I went ahead and assigned from this add menu. There's tons of categories that you guys can add and customize your work based on whatever you're looking for in your design rule check. For example, I'm interested in looking at the voltage drop in cables. Well, okay, it showed me that I have 3 voltage drops. I have a voltage drop in 3 cable. I'm gonna go ahead and expand the percentage and the voltage drop amount in volts. Well, if I look at it, see, oh, there's a 13.66 volts drop in cable number 2. Well, let me go ahead and fix it. Keep in mind, guys, right now it's at 5.69%. That's the amount of voltage drop. Let me go ahead and go to the cable properties. I'm going to assume that, the length of this wire is causing the voltage drop. It's at 97 meters now. Let me test something here. Let me try to encode 85 meters in this cable and see what happens. Well, after 85 meters, I'm gonna update my results, and bam, from 5 point something percent voltage drop, it dropped down to 4.99%. So on and so forth, guys. Such powerful tools like that comes in handy to help you guys, always check for errors, always fix errors, so you can end up with such high quality schematic at a fraction of time compared to other software. The next step, we're gonna take a look at how we can reuse our data. Like I showed you guys before, in my example schematic over here, how I was able to copy and paste components, so I didn't have to do that again over and over again from scratch, saving me tons of time. I can do that with macros, like I mentioned to you guys in the control schematic here. For example, that macro was stored in the library. It was created from scratch actually in another schematic, and then it was stored in the environment itself. It was archived and then reused and imported. You can create your own library. You're not limited to the libraries that are built in within SOLIDWORKS Electrical, guys. You can create your own customizable library, put in it and any components that you work with the most. And by the way, guys, there's over 4,000 2D symbols in SOLIDWORKS Electrical that relate to over 500,000 manufactured components. So the chances are too high that components that you currently work with in different softwares you're going to see in SOLIDWORKS Electrical. If not, you can create your own, assign your own customizable properties, so on and so forth, save it there for later on use. This menu here also can be customized. You can add your own tabs. Like I said, guys, depending on your design intent, depending on your workflow, you can customize SOLIDWORKS Electrical Schematic to work with you based on that. Another important thing that I'd like to mention, SOLIDWORKS Electrical Schematic is based on an SQL database, and that allows 2 important things. One, it allows multiple users to work on the same design at the same time. And 2, it allows for a better searching for components. It's SQL database, saving you tons of time while looking for those components. Now let's talk about the most important piece when it comes to documentation, which is the bill of materials. Guys, bill of materials in SOLIDWORKS Electrical is fully automated. The moment you hit reports and generate all sorts of reports that you're looking for, It's going to capture every single component that you used in your schematic. It's going to capture its description, the quantities and all that, typical bill of materials, and group them by manufacturers. Like for example, in that particular schematic from Legrand, we used these two components here. We used from Leroy Summer, we used the 3-phase motor. From this manufacturer, we used these two components here, the quantities, so on and so forth. And besides that, I'm gonna show you guys something pretty cool over here. I'm gonna go to a really simple schematic that I went ahead and created just to show you guys something else over here. So I created these wires were custom made, by the way, guys. I went ahead and created a 12-volt circuit. I saved it, and I used those wires from it. As you can see, let me go ahead and close these for now. Less clutter. I'm going to show you the bill of materials in this case. So from Schneider Electric, we used this component. How many? Okay, we used one of those contactors, the 12 amp contactors, and from Siemens we used these two components. Here's something I'd like to show you guys, just to prove that you're not limited to what's built in SOLIDWORKS Electrical. I'm gonna go ahead and say, for example, go to my library, go to my symbols manager, and I created a symbol here, just a random symbol that I called it demo part. Let me go ahead and grab that part, okay, and look for it there, look for demo. It's gonna show up here. Grab this instance and assign manufacturer properties. That was a custom part. I'm gonna add it manually. The reference for it is gonna be 01, 02, 03. Manufacturer, I went ahead and created a manufacturer name and called it JD, my initials. That's right here. And for the description for that part, I'm gonna call it SWE demo part, and drop it here. It's gonna ask me if I want to use this component only for this project or add it to the catalog to be used later on. Well, I'm gonna use it, for every other component, all the projects, and say okay here. I didn't make it to scale, so let me go to my bill of materials, and with a simple click I'm gonna update it. Testing options right here, and it shows as JD. This is the reference number I entered, SOLIDWORKS Electrical demo part. As you guys can see, so simple, pretty intuitive. I was able to add and assign component properties. Besides that, guys, the automatic creation for bill of materials and the list of wires. Oh, the list of wires, something really important. Origin, destination, locations are always reserved in your wire report. For example, this is the wire I created and named it 12-volt wire. This is the origin and destination. This is the wire number and the length for that wire. These are the lengths that I punched in while doing the project. So at the very end, it would tell me how much wires do I need for my entire project. So in other words, that powerful automatic creation and formatting of all my reports, really helped me cut down on the time. Maybe like a similar project could be done in other software in twice as much as time that it took me in SOLIDWORKS Electrical. And that high quality output can be customized and based on the standard formats for your, based on your client's request. And by the way, guys, you're not limited to ANSI standards in SOLIDWORKS Electrical. If you have international audience, international customers, you can create your projects with ISO, GSO. There's 4 kinds of standards that you can use to create your projects in SOLIDWORKS Electrical to target European customers, Chinese, besides the ANSI and the ISO standards. Let me go back to my presentation here, and Hope you enjoyed this webinar, guys. I hope it was informative for you guys. If you guys have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.